there, this is Davey T from Field Sports Scotland, and welcome to another episode of FSS Chatback. And as you see, I'm not coming from my usual place, which is in the summer house. I am kind of confined to here because I have people staying in the summer house, so I can't do anything about it. But welcome to my podcast where I talk about countryside related stuff, a little bit of the news, product reviews that I've been working on, all the things that I've been working on over the last couple of weeks. I am sitting here doing a bit of reloading, so I thought, well, I'm going to do a podcast while I'm waiting because I am bored cleaning brass. Yes, it is the worst. One of the things that I hate about reloading is when I have to sit there for hours cleaning brass. And I'm working on 270 loads right now, and I thought I'd take a break, give my back a break, give my hands a break, and give my brain a break from the repetitiveness of just sizing and cleaning and the noise of the drill, because I use a drill for cleaning. So what I'm going to talk about this week, well, what have I been up to? This week I have been doing my deer management stuff like I do every week. That's a given. I have been talking to a lot of people in regards to Forestry and Land Scotland, various deer management groups, and I have been doing a heck of a lot of research. I finished my DNT Thermite TNC 225R review. You can catch that. Many people have. It's got over the last 8 days since it's been published. The video review has had a lot of response, which I can only thank you about. Just full disclosure, for some reason or other, YouTube is demonetized. So I am pretty much don't get anything at all. I used to be able to get maybe a few quid out of some of the videos. I mean, like a few quid. We're not talking like hundreds and thousands like some of the YouTubers out there. I was getting like, I don't know. You have to get £60. It'd take me about 3 months or 4 months to get that 60 quid. So I'm not making that much out of any of the videos that I produce. So 4 months of, it's just full disclosure, to be honest. So my last video on the DNT Thermite got completely demonetized, and that might be down to the fact that I showed a graphic image of a fox. And that's where social media is going, unfortunately, when it comes to us guys who are legally hunting, are legally doing a job, and we are trying to educate those out there who want to either do what we do or do what we do but need a little help in things. We cannot review products properly. It's very hard. We cannot visually review products properly. Because the likes of YouTube and various other people will demonetize, and they just won't give any incentive for us guys in the hunting industry to be able to go out and do what we do. There will be a time over the next few years, and I envisage this, and usually I'm right, and I hate when I'm right, but I usually am right when I say this. You will no longer see coyote hunts, or you will no longer see various other things happening on YouTube. You will have to go to subscribe services, and I think there's a few out there. There's some outdoor ones, Patreons and stuff like that, which I don't subscribe to. I do not pay any money to any of these other places. I don't expect money back for any of my YouTube footage or any of my podcast stuff. The incentive is quite nice because I do put a lot of effort in. Even the average video could take up to 10 hours, 15 hours to edit, and I'm not very good at editing. I'm not an editor. Likewise with the camera footage, there's a heck of a lot of stuff that I would like to put up on my footage that I cannot. So for those of you who did watch my videos, they're going to carry on. The demonetization side of things doesn't bother me whatsoever. But I hope you enjoyed my DNT Optics TNC 225R Thermite. God, do you know what? I wish. That's one criticism I have for manufacturers, is sometimes they just make it so hard with it when they're naming something. Well, just call it from the Thermite from now on, because it makes it easier for me. TNC 225R Thermite. Well, that was a great little product. It is fantastic for if you know its limitations, and that is, you don't use the thermal for shooting above 100 yards. Just use it for spotting, use it for tracking, use it for doing any other of that stuff. But the thermal for, in regards to shooting wise, just don't use it for shooting. Use it for as a backup. That is how I used it. That's the way it's designed to be used. As long as you know that, you are not going to be disappointed with it whatsoever, and that is what I like. But it is a game changer when it comes to a scope, and for the price around about £1,000, you cannot go wrong. But enough of that, because I put in way too much effort into that. I mean, like the whole month's worth of videoing, and don't get me wrong, I do a lot of the videos for my stuff around my work. So basically, I'm working twice every time I go out. If I go and review a product, I will go out and I'll be at work. So I am working and I am reviewing a product. So I'm doing both at the exact same time. So technically I'm doing two jobs at the exact same time. And it just makes it more efficient. But that's the good thing about what I do compared to what I review. They're very similar. I can use those products at work. Deer management's going well. The winter's kind of slowed down. We had a really hot spell, a warm spell. I won't say it's a hot spell, but there was days it was 17, 18 degrees. But we've had really warm spell over the start of November. So that has kind of messed up the cycle in regards to Sika, especially movement and red deer movement on my main properties. There's still a lot of flies about. It feels like summer some nights. I mean, we were out, I was out at 2 a.m. one morning, and it was 14 degrees Celsius, and I was sweating buckets when I was dragging a deer. So it's honestly, it's too warm right now. However, we are told, I was just looking at the Met Office just now, we are told as of the end of the weekend, this is Friday, so as of Monday, we will have snow, or we will have a significant drop in temperature, which then in return will increase my output for the next coming weeks, because deer start to get panicky and they'll come out into the open quite a lot for food, and especially in the search of food if we do get a lying snow. If we don't get anything that's lying and it's just wet, then it's not going to change much. That's the way it is. Now, that leads me on to what I really want to talk about today, because the fact of the matter is I have had about 30 phone calls over the last 2 or 3 weeks, people asking for syndicate places. So my syndicates are not up until the 31st of March. I usually start advertising and get a good idea who's renewing and who's not renewing around about January time. So if any of you guys out there are watching this and they want a syndicate place, end of January is about the right time for me to start advertising, start knowing exactly what I've got for next year, because obviously it's getting harder and harder for stalkers to get recreational deer stalking. The reason for this, I think, is a lot of preparation for the new deer management regulations that are coming in force next year. A lot of deer management groups had this belief that because the Green Party is not an active participant in running the country with a coalition with the SNP in Scotland, that a lot of the policies, when they came out of having that coalition, a lot of the policies that were put forward in regards to deer management, nature restoration orders and various other things, they would get scrapped. No, they're not getting scrapped. In fact, they might get amended a little bit, but they're not getting scrapped, and that's a fact. I tried to educate a few people with this, but nobody really listens until it happens anyway, and what do I know? So it seems to be that a lot of this legislation is going ahead. Now, there is a lot of backing from various agencies when it comes to this. This is not just the only people that are really against these new deer management, nature restoration orders and various other Nature Scot legislation that will be coming in next year are the likes of people who commercially shoot deer in low numbers. I mean the recreational deer stalkers. I mean in estates who rely on trophies and stuff like that. They're not happy with the reduction of deer that they might have to make. But every other agency, every other person, and genuinely in the public who have any knowledge about these certain things, they have they're all for reducing deer numbers. They understand that deer numbers are very high. It's causing an impact on the environment. However, I'm not going to get into that either. It's just that stalkers will find it hard now to get recreational stalking. There is a sad fact to this. Recreational stalking does not control numbers. I have spoke to many people over the years. We've taken on plots. We've taken on large numbers of ground where people have complained locally. Oh well, why didn't you offer it out to a local syndicate? Why don't you offer it? Why do landowners not offer deer stalking out to individuals locally who would like to go stalking? The simple fact is they just cannot cull enough numbers. Real life gets involved. I have syndicates. I've got syndicate members on grounds who have been to the grounds twice a year. And I still have to go in and manage the ground to get some of the numbers down, because the fact is, within a woodland environment especially, the commodity for the landowner is the trees. It is not the deer. The deer doesn't make him any money. In fact, makes him no money. A lot of the time they pay for contractors to come in because that's more cost effective for them than actually being paid. Now, you cannot, even with large culling on a property, you cannot completely stop damage to trees, but you can limit the amount that is damaging the trees. And recreational stalkers just do not go out enough. They have jobs, they have families. Many of them live 8 to 10 hours away. So having a trip to their property is not ideal. And landowners are getting more and more savvy to this, and they are offering less and less opportunities out. I've heard so many people now that have said, no, we're stopping all our deer stalking in regards to recreational stuff. Sorry guys, go find stalking somewhere else. I spoke to a gentleman yesterday who told me that they've just lost their the estate that they've been stalking on for a long, long time has decided that they're not going to be leasing anything out. They are going to be bringing contractors in to shoot their deer. This is going to be a common thing in the future. There'll be still many estates out there who will still have the traditional deer stalking and stuff like that, but their stalkers will land up taking on a more culling role. In fact, their stalkers will probably have to increase their cull by 100%. I've heard some larger estates whose cull figures are roughly around about 30 stags and 40 hinds or something like that, are now talking 80 to 100 stags and 80 to 100 hinds, more than doubling what their normal output is for culling. So these changes are going to affect people who are looking for recreational stalking, whether that's folk that are on syndicates, whether that is people looking for day stalks, that sort of thing. So if you do have a regular stalking supplier, somebody who, not stalking supplier, because obviously that's a different thing, if you do have a regular place where you do go stalking, I would double check, especially if it's in Scotland, I will double check what their plans are for the next year. Because you might inadvertently find yourself, oh, I usually go to this place in September or October, and then come August they go, no, we're not doing that this year. You'll have to find stalking elsewhere. And these guys have booked their accommodation, they paid for the accommodation, they paid for the trip, everything's planned, and then suddenly at the last minute, people are pulling out. And I've had a number of guests this year where that is exactly what has happened. and I have people now phoning me up for recreational stalking on our properties. The beauty where I've got in regards to this is I do the management, and the way I sell my stalking is that I don't give guarantees. I can't guarantee you that you're going to go and shout a 14-point stag. I can put you on a deer, and as many people who have witnessed this year do know that my properties have deer on them. We've had some cracking stocks this year. I've had a couple of guys who took 11 deer over 2 days, and that was 2 guys. I've had other guys who I have shot 5 or 6, and they've been so happy over a couple of days. Now, I prefer 2-day bookings over 1-day booking because you never know what's happening on the day. But I'm getting a lot of this kind of customers coming to me because they have been let down elsewhere. I can guarantee stalking. I can't guarantee a deer, but I can guarantee stalking. And my prices are usually far cheaper than what the estates. I mean, like half of what an estate charges sometimes. So things are going to get a little bit more difficult in the next year for deer stalkers. Now, I promised that my next podcast would be on rewilding and reintroduction of apex predators and stuff like that. Like, I'm going to be honest, I have kind of shied away from that topic. I have my own feelings on it, and I don't really want to have a biased opinion on that. I basically want to have somebody here. I've been trying to get guests involved in these podcasts over the last... It's really hard because, as I said, real life takes over. I've had many people who have come to me, oh yeah, I want to get involved, and when soon as you try and contact them to get involved, they don't. So I'm going to carry on trying to do that. I've got a particular guest I would like to come on to my podcast who has promised me that they would do it this year. And we'll have a conversation, maybe a small debate on regards to apex predators. But the fact of the matter is, that hasn't happened yet. And I'm not going to do it until that's happened because, to be honest, it is such a touchy subject. It's such an emotional subject. And for me, it's not an emotional subject because personally, everybody who has spoke to me will hear this. I have my concerns on some things, but on other things, I really don't care. If you want to bring Eurasian links back to Scotland, I'm happy for it. The reason why I'm happy for it is because it will have its own challenges and man won't be that challenge. And I don't see the effect that people think they might have in regards to lynx stealing lambs or whatever. I think foxes will still kill more lambs than what a lynx will be due to territories and things like that. The other thing is wolves. I have some concerns. I'm not completely against it, but I've got some concerns over wolves. There is places that have wolves right now who are having lots of problems, like in Holland. But the government refused to admit it because the fact is, well, it's good for image. It's good for their biodiversity policies and stuff like that. Now, I am following these news stories as they come. Talking about news, did anybody hear about this stag that was in a schoolyard in Sheffield? Well, I'm going to say, first of all, should have just left it. That stag probably wouldn't have caused a danger to anybody. I'm not against the police shooting it or getting somebody who is a professional deer manager to shoot it. They are right in saying that tranquilising it wouldn't do absolutely nothing. But I have seen the absolute comments, the comments from people who have no blooming idea on anything in regards to deer management, deer ecology, or anything like that, who have come on and said, oh, they should have just left it. It was inhumane for it to be shot. No, actually, I'm going to be honest. For that deer, the most humane thing for it was to be shot. It wasn't chased down and hunted like hunted and hounded. It had put itself into a situation where for human intervention to take it out that situation would be both dangerous and harmful for the deer. Yes, you're going to say, well, it got shot. That's harmful for the deer. But providing it was done properly and providing it was done quickly and at a distance, that deer wouldn't even have known anything, wouldn't have felt any pain whatsoever. Where it would have felt pain is if it ran out onto a busy street, got hit by a car or bus, and then it was lying on the pavement in front of hundreds of people with a broken leg, thrashing about, because it was a big stag, thrashing about, and people all standing round it. That is inhumane. So, honestly, what people's ideas in life on how animals should be managed and things like that, if you don't know, stay out or learn. In fact, better still, if you don't know, find out the facts. And I'm not meaning find out the facts from people like Petra or any of these organisations who are anti-hunting. Find out the real facts, the real scientific facts before you get involved in this sort of thing. Because emotions, heart over head does not work. This is why many people are finding themselves into a lot of bother financially, ecologically, and all sorts, is because their heart is controlling their head. They don't understand that certain things are not right. They do not work, and you cannot get your outcome that you want in your heart because your heart is taking over your head. You need to use knowledge before you actually get your heart involved. And that's what I try to do. There's a lot of things that I deal with on a day-to-day basis that I'm a passionate person. I get very passionate about certain subjects. I've got my ideas, and I know they're not always right, and I understand that 100% most of the time are not right. But I'm a pragmatic person. I'm very pragmatic in my thinking, because if something doesn't make sense to me, then I question it. Now, me personally, as a deer manager, I would have left that deer, 100%. I would have left it, monitored it from a distance, come by every so often, allow the kids to watch it, and it would have been there for 2 or 3 days, and it would have worked itself away. What happened in that situation, and I can only presume, I'm speculating here, I will 100% say I'm speculating here, what happened in that situation, a teacher who didn't know anything about deer, anything about wildlife, was looking out the window. Instead of telling the kids, stay away from the deer, give it a bit of space, what they did was panicked, phoned the authorities, and then the authorities had to make a decision based on public safety, public health, blah, blah, blah. Then they got firearms police involved or a deer manager involved. Oh, what do we do with this deer? Somebody said, well, shoot it if you have to. But nobody actually gave them the right advice. The right advice in that situation. Now, I drive by schools all hours of the days and nights in the Highlands. I have to drive by around about 10 schools to get to certain places that I work. And I often have seen deer. Altmahara Primary School, prime example. Middle of winter, 4 stags sitting in the playground munching on grass. People's gardens full of deer. Big, big stags. We're talking proper wild beasts sitting in people's gardens eating. I live in a village where I have seen deer pass through the village in the middle of the night. Deer are literally all around us all the time. Now, I have seen deer in Inverness. I've seen roe deer and red deer in Inverness at Inverness Royal Academy as I'm passing by. They'll go wherever the grass is going to be good for eating. And then once it starts getting busy, they'll work their way to the quietest places that they can find and they'll eat them. They're not going to go out their way to attack people if people don't annoy them. So if I was the person who was picked up the phone and says, we've got some deer in our schoolyard or my workplace, and they've only come in last night and we're scared. What do we do? I would have said, just leave them. watch them. Enjoy them. Enjoy them being there. Sit and watch them. Let them do their own blooming thing. If the gate's closed and it's a high-sided boundary, leave a couple of gates open just for the night and see if they leave. If they're there a week or two and they're still not doing any harm, just leave them. They'll work it out. If they start causing a problem, that's when you start making a decision on what you're going to do with them. If they're going to harm a child, for instance, if it's a school, then yes, get the authorities involved, get somebody who's trained and have the deer dealt with. I think that stag was dealt with wrong. But I wasn't there, and the authorities took a decision, and it was probably the right decision in their minds. And legally, it was the right decision. Legally, they were completely well within the right to do whatever they needed to do. They thought about public safety, they thought about public health, and they thought what would be the most humane for the deer. And if that was the case to shoot it, and that's what they needed to do, then that's what they should have done. And that's what they did do. However, would that have been what I did? No, I would have left it. I would have said, just leave it. It'll be fine. Monitor for a couple of days. If I was close by, I would monitor for a couple of days and say, right, okay, yeah, that's fine. It's not doing any hassle. It's not going to cause any problems. It's not in the middle of rut. That's where they're at their most dangerous when it comes to stags. They're not going to do you any harm. Keep the kids away. If it gets even more friendlier and it sits there and it comes closer, just keep it at arm's length. Don't go in its face and don't start trying to feed it and things like that, like what people do at the side of the 82. Just leave it be, watch it for a distance and enjoy it. Can you imagine the education side of things? Having that stag wandering about that playground, watching what it's doing educationally, that is something that is opening the minds of children of what is actually out there, especially if you live in a town or a city. Wow, you have got that wildlife in front of children who probably have never seen a red deer stag before in their life. It opens worlds. Education opens minds and opens worlds if it's dealt with the right way. Natural education is the most important education that a child could ever have. Seeing what's going on around about them, the environment that they live in, that is where their education is dominated, not by reading books and seeing hearing what a teacher has to say in a classroom, but their whole living environment around about them. 90% of children will respond to their environment before they will respond to an environment they don't particularly like. So, bear that in mind. Get a bit dry. I'm going to have a little sip of my coffee. And that's what this is. This is his coffee break. This is my coffee break. I sit here, have a horrible coffee, and talk to you guys about certain things. Now, we're coming at the half an hour mark. I blabbered on various other things. Catch up on my review. We have got other reviews coming up. I've got something. I'm meeting up with the guys from DNT soon, which is absolutely fantastic. They're supposed to be coming up and show me their new products. They've got new thermites coming out, the 335, 335, that's got a 336 sensor, and the 635, which has got a 636 sensor. So we will, I want to see what they're like. They are an upgrade to the 225R. So I'm looking forward to it. And it'd be nice to actually put faces to names that I've been dealing with over the last 6 or 8 months. It's been a long journey with DNT. I will catch up with Toby at some point. I need to catch up with him actually in the next couple of days. And we'll see what he's got for me to mess about with. I have got more reviews planned. I'm going to be contacting a few people to see if we get some equipment, especially winter equipment that's coming out. I have been trying to get in contact with some of the ATV companies so that I could do a little review and test drive some of their products and give my thoughts on it. But yeah, so keep tuned. Thank you for subscribing. I've had a heck of a lot more subscribers over the last couple of weeks, and hopefully you enjoy this podcast. I'll catch you in a bit.